They knocked after midnight, based on the legend of the black-eyed children. The knocking started at 12:42 a.m. 3 slow, heavy taps on the front door. Then a pause. Then again. Knock, knock, knock. Brian glanced at the clock. His wife was asleep upstairs. Their dog, Rufus, whined lowly from under the couch. He peered out through the pee-hole. 2 children, a boy and a girl, maybe 10 years old, both standing barefoot in the snow. The boy had his hands in his pockets. The girl was staring directly at the door. Then she spoke, without moving her lips. "Please, let us in. We need to call our mother." Brian opened the door halfway. Immediately, the air inside dropped 10 degrees. His skin prickled. His breath fogged the glass. The kids didn't move. The girl tilted her head. "Let us in. We can't come in unless you say it's okay." That's when Brian saw their eyes. Pitch black. No whites, no irises. Just 2 glossy orbs swallowing all light. He slammed the door. They didn't knock again, but he could still feel them standing there, waiting. Reports of the black-eyed children have been circulating for decades. Always the same pattern, always the same script. They knock on doors or windows, usually in the middle of the night. They always travel in pairs. They always ask to be let in. Sometimes they want to use your phone. Sometimes they claim to be lost. Sometimes they say nothing at all. But they always wait for permission. One trucker, James R., claimed he saw 2 children on the side of the highway around 2 a.m. He pulled over, rolled down his window. The boy approached first. "We're cold. Can you take us to the next town?" He said their voices were mechanical, like someone mimicking what a child should sound like. He told them no, rolled up the window. When he looked back, they were gone. Another woman, Heather W., reported a knock on her camper while parked at a rest stop. 2 teens this time, pale, wearing hoodies in the summer heat. They didn't speak until she reached for the door. Then, in unison, "We'll be safer inside, please." She ran, locked herself in the bathroom. When she finally came out, every window had handprints on the inside. No one knows what they are. Demons? Aliens? Government experiments? Some say if you let them in, you'll never wake up the same. Migraines, nosebleeds, sudden paranoia, pets that go missing, mirrors that fog without reason, One man who did let them in was found 2 weeks later in his home, still alive, but completely blind, and repeating one phrase over and over again. They're not children. They wear the shape, but they're not children. If you ever hear a knock at your door after midnight, and it's a child asking to use the phone, don't answer. And whatever you do, do not look into their eyes.
The Village That Shouldn't Exist. Based on the legend of Sugisawa Village, Japan. The last signal anyone ever received was just 4 seconds of static. Then, a voice. Don't come here. It's already watching. That was the final transmission. After that, nothing. No calls, no GPS, just a forest that doesn't appear on maps, and a gate to a village that officially never existed. Back in the 1980s, students from Osaka whispered rumors about a hidden settlement deep in northern Japan, a village known as Sakai-mura, not marked on any map, not listed in any record, and if the stories are true, erased from history. They say in 1972, something happened there. Something horrifying. A man went mad, claimed the village was infected by a demon. He hunted down every single resident, door by door, with a hunting rifle. No survivors, no investigation, no headlines. Just silence. And then, supposedly, the government sealed the forest, fenced it off, and made the village disappear. But it didn't vanish completely. In 2013, a group of urban explorers known online as Night Hike posted they'd finally found it. They shared one photo, a grainy image of a wooden gate with rotting signs that read, "Welcome to Sakai-mura." They never posted again. Weeks later, their camera was discovered in a rice field, miles away from where they'd entered the woods. The SD card was still intact, and what it showed was disturbing. The first few clips were normal. Trees, dirt roads, nervous laughter. Then they reached it. A village of abandoned wooden houses, overgrown with vines. Windows shattered, shrines desecrated. And then the audio changed. The wind stopped. Only one sound remained. A bell ringing, slowly, even though there was no wind and no one visible nearby. Then came a single shot of something standing at the edge of the tree line, pale, still, faceless. The footage cuts, and the next file is corrupted. That same year, a solo investigator named Hiroshi Tanaka followed the same trail. He made one blog post before disappearing. He wrote, "The trees don't grow right here. The soil's black. I saw a child without eyes standing near the shrine, and I swear the buildings were breathing." His post was taken down within days. No one has seen him since. Locals say if you go deep enough into the forest, you'll find an old stone marker. Past it, the air grows colder. No birds, no bugs, just the feeling of being watched. One man claims he reached the edge of the village. He never stepped inside, but he still dreams about it. He says in the dreams, a voice calls to him from inside a dry well, begging to be let out. Even now, some say if you search the old GPS coordinates, 35.225 north, 140.118 east, you might catch a glimpse of it on Street View. Just for a moment, a flicker, a sign with symbols no one can translate. Then it disappears, just like the people who try to find it.
She still waits on Balin Street, based on the legend of the White Lady of Balete Drive.
He saw her in his rearview mirror at exactly 2:14 a.m. White dress, long jet black hair, bare feet. She was sitting silently in the back seat, head tilted, not moving, not breathing. He slammed on the brakes hard, sending his taxi skidding sideways across the slick pavement. But when he turned around, the seat was empty. Just the faint smell of roses and a wet handprint smeared across the inside of the window. They say there's a stretch of road in the heart of Balin City, lined with ancient trees and cracked stone walls. Locals call it Balin Street, but the older generation still whispers its true name, Daan ng Bungtong Hininga, the Road of Sighs. No one walks it after midnight, because that's when she appears. Back in the 1950s, it was just a quiet residential street, but that was before the accident, before the story began to spread. According to legend, a young woman named Elena was waiting for her ride home after school. A black car pulled up, not a cab, no license plate, just a man in a white button-down shirt who smiled and offered her a ride. She never made it home. Her body was found 3 days later beneath the roots of a massive balete tree, strangled and broken. Her killer was never caught. Locals claimed the tree absorbed her spirit, trapped her rage, her sorrow within its gnarled limbs. They tried to cut it down once. The chainsaw operator went blind for 3 days. Another worker slipped and shattered his spine. The tree still stands, and so does she. For decades, drivers on Balin Street have reported the same thing. You'll be driving alone, windows up, Nothing but the hum of the engine and the glow of the street lights. Then your headlights flicker. The temperature drops. Your hands tremble on the wheel. And suddenly, you're not alone anymore. She's in the back seat. Some say she stares at the ceiling, whispering. Others say she cries softly. A few, very few, say she lunges forward, screaming in a voice that doesn't sound human at all. One driver was found catatonic in his cab with claw marks across his neck and chest. Another's dash cam captured a single frame, a pale face pressed against the back window, mouth wide open, no eyes. He was never seen again. There's an old superstition now. If you have to drive Balin Street at night, you must do 3 things. Don't look in the mirrors. Don't speak. And if you smell roses, keep driving, no matter what. Even if she taps the glass, even if she whispers your name. Because the moment you stop, the moment you acknowledge her, you become part of her road forever.
They were running from something, based on the Dyatlov Pass incident. They found the bodies scattered like they had been running for their lives. 3 were barefoot in the snow, their skin frozen into a waxy yellow. 1 had no tongue. Another had his skull shattered, with no visible wound on the outside. The tent, ripped from the inside out, still stood half buried beneath a sheet of ice. And there were 9 sets of footprints leading away from the campsite. Calm at first, then frantic, then vanishing into the mountain's silence. What made them run? It was February 1959 when a group of 9 experienced hikers from a Soviet technical university ventured into the Ural Mountains. Their leader, Yuri Antonov, was 23, a natural outdoorsman. His team, engineers, athletes, all seasoned in winter treks, were aiming to reach Mount O'Torton. Their final camp was set on the slopes of Dead Mountain, a barren stretch locals called Kolatsial, meaning Mountain of the Dead. They never made it down. Weeks later, search teams discovered the tent ripped open from the inside out. All their gear, boots, coats, food, left untouched. The hikers had fled into minus 30 degrees Celsius cold in socks and thin clothing. The first bodies were found under a cedar tree nearly a mile from camp. Their hands were bloody, their limbs broken. One had bite marks, human-looking, but no one had teeth like that. Not anymore. It got worse. 2 more were found halfway back to the tent, frozen mid-crawl, like they died trying to return. The last 4 were found 2 months later, buried beneath snow in a ravine. Their injuries were impossible. One woman, Alina, had her eyes and tongue removed, cleanly. Another's chest had been crushed inward as if hit by a force equal to a car crash, yet no bruises, no external trauma. Soviet coroners wrote that the damage was more consistent with being inside a high-pressure vessel. Soviet coroners wrote that the damage was more consistent with being inside a high-pressure vessel. Theories exploded across the Soviet Union. Avalanche? Disproven. Radiation? Traces were found on the hikers' clothes. A secret military experiment. Locals reported strange orange lights in the sky that night, but no documents were ever released. Some investigators even claimed the photos recovered from the hikers' cameras showed something non-human, a blurry shape in the trees. But those frames were quietly removed from the official case file. One rescue worker later claimed he'd seen the bodies age rapidly after exposure to sunlight. Another refused to speak at all, only saying they were escaping something that followed them out of the dark. Years later, hikers who visited the same ridge reported eerie sounds, metallic humming, static in the air, even feelings of being watched. One man claimed he woke up outside his tent with no memory of unzipping it. Another woman's group abandoned their trek after hearing screams in the night. Human, but not quite. The Russian government reopened the case in 2019. It was officially ruled as an avalanche and poor visibility, but even locals don't believe that, because sometimes hikers still disappear up there, quietly, without headlines, and when search teams go looking, they still find footprints leading nowhere.
The letters from the man in the shadows, inspired by the real Watcher House case. The letter was waiting for them before the moving truck even arrived. Handwritten, no return address, just their new home's number, 65 Greystone Lane, scrawled across the front. Inside, I have been waiting for you. The house has been waiting for you. My grandfather watched it in the 1920s, my father in the 60s. Now it is my turn. No signature, just a name scratched in shaky ink, the man in the shadows. Evan and Laura Marks had been saving for this home for years. A 3-story colonial with a wraparound porch, a manicured lawn, and space for their 2 children to grow up in. They thought they were buying safety. Instead, they bought fear. The second letter came 3 days later. Do you know what the house wants? I see you've given the front bedroom to your daughter. Good choice. It has the best view of me. It mentioned the children by name, their ages, the toys they'd left on the porch. Evan called the police. An officer skimmed the letters, frowned, and said, "It's creepy, but there's no threat here." Then he left. Weeks passed. The Marks family tried to ignore the letters, until one night Laura awoke to the sound of footsteps on the porch. Slow, deliberate, pausing, right outside the front door. The next morning, a third letter was waiting. The house tells me when you're awake. It tells me what you've moved. I see you've added cameras. That won't help. They weren't wrong. The cameras never caught anyone. The letters grew darker. The house misses the young blood. It needs more. You've stolen it from me. I will get it back. One envelope contained a small, rusted key. No explanation. Laura refused to sleep in the house after that. She claimed she could hear whispering in the walls at night, a man's voice, low and steady, counting from 1 to 9, over and over again. Evan set up motion sensors and slept downstairs with a baseball bat. But the letters kept coming, always with details only someone inside the property could know. Once, the writer described the exact position of Laura's reading chair, the book she was holding, and the drink beside her when she'd been sitting in a back room with the curtains drawn. The final letter arrived in a plain white envelope. You have been a disappointment. The house will not keep you. You should leave before it lets me in. They moved out within a week. The house sits empty now. But neighbors still swear they see someone standing at the top window some nights. Tall, still, watching. Always watching.
That's all for this story. I hope this helped calm your racing mind and put you in a sleepy mood. Sweet dreams. See you next time.